Seventh session is sustainability and resilience and inclusive growth is divided into two parts.
Natural disasters over that period of time. About 70% of the natural disaster events occur in this region, and about 80% of the property loss worldwide is in this region. And ironically, our region has become even more vulnerable to disasters over the last 40 years rather than less. This is because people are continuing to move to disaster-prone areas, particularly along.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I really regret that we cannot share our views and exchange opinions with the Governor Chair. I took this picture myself in an area where we had the worst damage of tsunami in March 11. You could find substitute suppliers anyway. But if this is our producer of very unique parts and components that no other companies can replace, and it were disrupted, the damage could be propagated to much greater extent. Supply chain, in the case of Japan, works for dispersion of industries because of the local, in rural area, labor is cheaper. Sometimes each company's individual effort is not enough to mitigate the impact. So,
It's exactly 6 seconds before the end of his time. Now we have Mr. Todd.
Number 3, we must prepare. We have been much too reactive. We must deal with this proactively. Access, not simply trade access, but physical access. When people, goods, and services are stuck, economic disruption sets in. Trade flows will be affected. Climate-smart infrastructure and transport options will play a major role.
Okay, at this point, we don't have any questions here, so I'm going to ask the panelists a question myself. You know, in many
Similar point. And it is time for the people who see what tomorrow will be to make that shift, to make those investments. It is time to shift. Now, some people will still stick to. I'd like to echo what Hamaguchi-san mentioned, that we must look inward also, not just outward. We must look at our inventories and how local communities fare. Are we seeing indications of self-sufficiency or not? Are we going to be dependent?
Professor Hamaguchi, Mr. Tan, and Dr. Morrison. Now, for the second part of the 7th session, speakers will be given ample time to deliver. 10 minutes shall be allotted for a Q&A.